The biggest misconceptions about Raditz is that he's a weakling or one of the weakest Saiyans to have ever lived. Being at a battle power around 1500, depending on which source material you read, Raditz's power is obviously nowhere near Vegeta, Nappa, or any other Saiyan down the line, despite Raditz's initial introduction being a great deal stronger than his brother and main protagonist of the series, Son Goku. As we are all well aware, Raditz's Cyberman level of power was stopped dead in its tracks by Goku and Piccolo, and that was it. That was the memory of Raditz's power. And when looking at Dragon Ball Z overall, it's only natural to rank Raditz as the weakest Saiyan based on the Saiyans we see in the entire series from there on. But that's not entirely the full picture. Raditz, for a Saiyan warrior, was one of the strongest in terms of his potential and overall battle power at the time he was alive. He was already one of the 12 strongest Saiyans back when he was a kid, and is only weak when we compare him to Nappa and Vegeta, who were two of the strongest Saiyans of all time. Going with minus the Dragon Ball Super continuity, Bardock's fight with Gas proved Bardock was probably the strongest of all Saiyans when he died, because Gas believed he was already far beyond every Saiyan. Gas knew of King Vegeta, who was meant to be the strongest, excluding Broly, which means at the time Bardock defeated Gas, he had no doubt surpassed King Vegeta. So as Bardock's sons, it makes sense why both Goku and Raditz should have some innate ability to be gifted. Saiyans are graded at birth based on their potential and power, either low class, middle class, or elite, where Goku, Bardock, and Guinea were ranked as low-class Saiyans, but Raditz's power and potential were graded as a mid-class Saiyan ranking, like Nappa. Mid-class Saiyans had way better potential than any low-class. By the point Raditz met Goku, despite all of Goku's accolades and training with the greatest on Earth, Raditz already eclipsed him by at least 3 times. Very, very impressive. And in one of the guides it says the average Saiyan power ranged between 400 and 900. Now Raditz was an upper-class Saiyan, which is not the same as latent potential grading, but more like an army rank. Bardock became an upper-class warrior, but was still a low-class Saiyan in terms of his potential grading, and Toriyama states that no matter if a Saiyan gets promoted from hard work or battle power rising, they will always be a low-class Saiyan. So Bardock was in upper levels as a low-class Saiyan, Raditz was in upper levels as a mid-class Saiyan. Vegeta is an elite Saiyan but a prince, King Vegeta is an elite Saiyan but a king. It's a social hierarchy, king, prince, upper class, lower class. Raditz being referred to as a weakling solely down to Raditz's power level being compared to Nappa's. Not that he's actually a weakling, ask Goku and Piccolo, and Krillin. But that's where the misconception of Raditz being a weakling amongst the Saiyan race comes from. It's always been kind of a thing that supposedly the strongest of all Saiyans is the king. So as an example with Broly, if there's anyone to oppose the power of the Saiyan hierarchy, they had to be dealt with. King Vegeta was pretty much an asshole, and so was his son. So if King Vegeta got wind of Bardock being superior to him, he would have a target on his back before long. When it comes to Bardock, it's probable that he was hiding his power because everybody kept assuming Bardock was weak because he was a low-class warrior, but he kept surprising everybody to how powerful he was. In the Bardock special, Bardock was in a healing pod, and it was noticed that his power was getting scarily close to King Vegeta's. Of course, the situation with Frieza changed the priorities, and it's likely King Vegeta never knew or got wind of Bardock's potential, and as such, his sons, or at least at the time with Raditz, he was not considered a threat to the hierarchy. Goku being revealed as an alien was one of the best things to ever happen to his character in terms of development. When watching Goku in the original Dragon Ball, it was clear he wasn't like the others in terms of his potential. He was considered a fighting prodigy, but when Raditz showed up, it turned him into an underdog who was a product of his own merit. What Goku managed to do in a few years took his masters centuries to do, but even then, it was nothing compared to Raditz. Kakarot was definitely a weakling amongst the Saiyans to begin with, but him being the strongest Saiyan multiple times throughout Dragon Ball was very, very impactful. Another downplay of Raditz's power is when it's compared to the Cybermen. Raditz likely could wipe out groups of regular Cybermen by himself, and even if he was 1500, with the Earth-soil Cybermen were 1200, he could still deal with them all as long as they don't grab him, because a power level of 300 was a huge difference at that point. Raditz being a mid-class Saiyan similar to Nappa, where Raditz got to 1500 whilst Nappa was 4000, this can be justified. Nappa was much older than Raditz, so in comparison, if he's 20 years older than Raditz, 20 more years of the same type of growth that Raditz and Nappa had could have easily took Raditz to 3 to 4000 as well. I know these are very low powers compared to the amount of power characters have now in Dragon Ball and how much they gain, but back then those increases of the 100s of thousands were considered a huge deal in growth. With Raditz's potential, could he have ascended to the levels of Goku now in Dragon Ball Super? Absolutely, if they wrote it that way, but also because Goku and Raditz are the same bloodline, where Raditz did have more potential than Goku. It's really about how you unlock and use that potential, rather than just being given a badge and that's it. Goku, despite being less potential at birth, found ways to grow outside of that tunnel vision scanning system. But there's no doubt Raditz's Saiyan body could do the same or better given the same path and mentors. And that's why Raditz has more potential than Kakarot and is actually stronger than you thought as a Saiyan warrior. A big shout out to Susha, Kaioken times 2 Susha, as well as the greatest Chi-Chi fan in the universe, Chi-Chi-verse. Thank you both for your support and information about Saiyan power in this video, both over on Twitter. Give them a follow if you want some more Dragon Ball daily posts. And for you watching today's video, thank you so much. Until we meet again, Scholar, keep being a gosh darn role model.